Let's talk some Torah. It's Parshat Tzav, and the sacrificial system really does dominate this week's Parsha. For some, that makes it not such a great Parsha to try to drash from. But I've always found the process of the sacrifices to be incredibly meaningful. There is something about what it affords the individual that we often, I think, overlook. We look at forms of modern ritual, and they have a lot in common with the ancient system, even though it feels like it's so different. Today, rituals can be done at home, they can be done in synagogue, they can be done anywhere. In fact, during this month of Nisan, the Hebrew month that we're in, there's a tradition that when you see the first buds on the trees during the month of Nisan, there's a special blessing for that. That's not something you do in a synagogue. That's not something you do at home. That's something you do out in the world. When there is thunder, there's a blessing. When there is lightning, there's a blessing. When you eat something, there's a blessing. When you see multitudes of people, there's a blessing. The sacrificial system itself had an essential function that I wanted to emphasize today. You see, some of the sacrifices were offered regularly, morning and evening, called the tamid. The korban tamid, the sacrifice of always or regular, was one that was offered on behalf of the community by the priest. But there were other sacrifices that were dependent upon individual lives and life moments. So if you had gratitude, you brought a korban todah. If you were blessed to have something in your life, as we are blessed every day to have each other. This is that kind of sacrifice. It's not something I'm unwilling to give or you're unwilling to give, but we sacrifice time and we make sure that we have the correct technology. So too did the altar serve as technology. But these blessings that we recite in the modern Jewish tradition have in common another element with the ancient sacrificial system, which is when there was an individual life moment. Let's say something that you felt guilty for, a mistake that you made. Or you were isolated because you were paralyzed by guilt for the mistake that you made. The sacrifice was not done at home. These sacrifices, the ones described in Parshat Tzav, including the chatat, the purification offering, was offered in community, with another. It drew the individual out from isolation to the public sphere, where there was a possible reconnection awaiting. Rehabilitation is actually another way of thinking about this. What is it to engage in the process of re-entry into community? The sacrifices themselves gave us the chance to rejoin our community. There's always a way to come back home. At least when there's a healthy dynamic, we open the portals for reconnecting. The always sacrifices were a way of us remaining connected with God, with the universe, with the source of life itself. Those are the ones that weren't dependent upon what we were going through. But how powerful it is to have in the ancient world, in our ancient tradition, a recipe for how to connect when you felt cut off. Because after all, guilt was related to mistake, and another word for mistake is sin. Sin cuts us off, theoretically, from the divine. Sadness, Rav Nachman of Braslav taught, cuts me off from the ability to pray. Singing brings me back. Sometimes pause brings me back. What a beautiful thing it is to see in our ancient biblical tradition, in the verses of a very dense Torah portion, a way home. So I want to bless us to recognize that this community that we've created for a very long time, every weekday for 3 years, we had a way to rejoin each other, to recommit to community, to have space, to have pause. And when we had life moments that could have potentially isolated us, when we had global moments that isolated us, we did not remain isolated because of the way that the Jewish community has always understood the evolving nature of ritual, but the unifying eternal purpose of it, which is to find each other, and through finding each other, to tap into God too. Here we are. So I want to invite you to think about what blessing you would offer today in the world. A blessing that brings you into the world. How are you preparing for Pesach? I don't mean all the scrubbing and the cleaning and the neuroses of tinfoil on counters and stuff. I mean, how are you getting ready for Pesach? How will this Passover be different? How will it bring you more deeply into your own hope, tap more deeply into your own life, more woven with beauty and love into community, and through that, how much closer to the divine we might each get. Bless you all, friends. What a gift it is to be part of a community that understands that sacrifice is actually a gift. It's not a sacrifice to take the time to be close. Here we go, friends. Let's take a breath. Sing our way into a good day. Bless you, friends. See you tomorrow. Have a good day.